It was the biggest gift I could have ever received. And of course, it did not feel like that in the moment. But like, I just get emotional thinking about like the woman that it forced me to create. I would not be here doing what I do and being the person that I am were it not for that. I mean, it almost destroyed me. And I think when you go through something that almost destroys you and it doesn't, and you look back and you're like, man, I got through that. It made me look at all adversity in my life as a gift.
Do you want to wake up feeling like you are stepping into who you are meant to be, into the best possible version of you? What if I told you that the key to your best life, health, and happiness are all around you? You just have to find what works for you. I'm Hope Pedraza, and I believe that there isn't just one way to live a healthy and meaningful life, and that all you need is a little inspiration to make changes that last from the inside out. Each week, I'll be sharing tangible tips and inspirational interviews to help you on your journey. These are the steps to take to improve your life and live with purpose. This is Hopeful and Wholesome. Hey y'all, welcome back to the show. Today I have on the show Claude Rancine, and she has a really interesting background. I say interesting in the fact that it's pretty amazing. She worked as a professional dancer and choreographer in LA for nearly 20 years, and she danced alongside artists like J-Lo and Chris Brown and the Pussycat Dolls and Erica Jane. And then she also choreographed for some TV shows. But it was when in 2020, she became a mom for the first time. She suffered from postpartum depression and had a year of basically suicidal postpartum depression and anxiety. And so now she's teaching women to embrace the very same tools that have changed her life through her podcast, through her signature programs and her wellness coaching. And that's what we're talking about today. We're really diving into this kind of postpartum experience and what that looks like and how it looks different for everyone. And Claude is so vulnerable and so openly shares her struggles through postpartum depression and anxiety and what that looked like for her, and really how to get through that and what the biggest shifts were for her to get to the other side of that. And really the biggest shifts that hold people back from the other side of living the life that they love, apart from, symptoms and anxiety and things like the anxiety and depression. This is such a good conversation with Claude, and I know you're going to get a lot out of it and lots of insightful things to take away. Let's jump in. All right, y'all, let's jump in. I'm here with Claude, and I've asked her at least 3 times now how to say her name, and it's Claude. So if y'all want to know how to say her name, now you know how to say it correctly. And we are diving into, actually, let's just see what we dive into. We were talking about this before I hit record. She has a lot to share with her journey through postpartum, and I want to talk about that. But she is a woman of many talents, and she has quite a journey. So let's see what the conversation holds for us today. Thanks so much for jumping on with me today, Claude.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm excited. So I didn't mention this when we had kind of messaged earlier. My background is in dance too. So I loved the fact that you're a professional dancer for a while and you've danced with so many like big names. And I was like, oh my gosh, we're like kindred spirits. So I love that part.
I love that. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I guess let's just start out with kind of sharing your story and kind of your work through. I mean, our listeners are women. And so we all know about all the things women have to deal with, but I feel like you kind of have some specific experiences to hone in on that we can really learn a lot from. So if you want to just kind of share a little bit about your story.
Sure. Well, first of all, I grew up and I had a pretty easy life growing up. My dad moved us around a lot, which I think ended up playing in my favor, because then when I became a professional dancer, I had to move a lot, and I just was like, cool, where are we going next?
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm leaving home, because I was born in Montreal. At the age of 8, my dad moved us to Arizona, didn't speak a lick of English, dropped us off at school. And I was like, what am I supposed to do? And
are you French Canadian?
I am.
No way.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I feel way more American than anything because I've been here for
so long,
32 years.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, and you have no trace of an accent. So I'm like totally impressed with your English. Good Lord.
Thank you. Now, a French person may not be as impressed with my French because
you're a little out of practice.
I mean, my mom, bless her, I hated her at the time. She would speak French at home, but my brother and I were like, wait, but we're learning English. Right. It's so exciting.
Right.
But I thank her for still being bilingual,
Yes.
So I'm thinking, okay, we're in Arizona. This is cool. I started taking dance to kind of like learn more English. And then 5 years later at 13, my dad's like, we're moving to Arkansas. And I was like, Arkansas? Like, yeah, it won't be as much of a culture shock. And so at 13, I'm like, oh, good. When I moved to Arkansas, it was a way bigger culture shock than Canada.
I can only imagine. Hello.
I didn't realize people were a different color than me until I moved to Arkansas.
That's hilarious.
And then I went to the movies with a Black boy. His name was Shawnee. And after that, Hope, like my whole reputation, me as a person was destroyed. I was bullied all the way to college for dating outside my race. So I think that gave me like, it was another moment of like, okay, this is building my thick skin. And it made me want to leave Arkansas really bad because I just wanted to be able to be me and not worry about all this judgment.
Yeah.
So my dad made me go to college for 2 years. And then I looked at him one day. I said, Dad, if you don't let me get out of here, I don't know what's going to happen. It's not going to be good. And he's like, find something to do in California and you can go. So I found a scholarship program for dance.
Nice.
Went and auditioned. I got the scholarship.
Wow.
2 months later, moved to LA and I felt like home. I was like, oh my gosh.
This is my place. Yeah.
This is where I belong. And for 18 years, I worked as a professional backup dancer and made a living doing it. And then COVID happened and I had my son and the whole industry was shut down. And my husband and I were like, well, every day, what are we supposed to do? Like nothing was going on. Plus I was dealing with, so my son was 9 weeks old when COVID happened. And I was dealing with really bad postpartum depression and anxiety, suicidal ideation. Like for a year, I just really thought the only way to relieve myself of any of this like awfulness that's going on is just to take myself out. Like, and for a year I was like, I can't just be here at home doing nothing. Like I'm losing my mind. So I'm scrolling on Facebook one night and this opportunity comes up on my friend's story. And she's like, do you know you can do what I do for just $21? It's like blinking lights. And I'm like, well, okay, she does makeup online. Like I can do makeup online. So that night I signed up. I was like, I just need something to do, like something to wake up to and do. And Hope, like that. The next day I began my journey. I shared why I started selling makeup and skincare online. And I got so much support and it really helped pull me out of depression and anxiety. And my purpose became now less about like, look at me, I'm a dancer, book me. And like me helping other women who were also struggling with postpartum.
Yeah. Do you find that, did you struggle with depression or suicide? Did you struggle with any of that before you had your son?
Never. And I just got chills because it was so foreign to me. Like I said, my life, other than those things I mentioned, was fairly easy. Like I was a happy person. I was fearless. I followed my passion all the time. Like I lived the life that I wanted. And then all of a sudden I have a baby and it was like I became this person I didn't recognize.
Do you think, and I know this is kind of like coulda, woulda, shoulda, maybe, who knows, but I find like the whole COVID like time warp that we had I just feel like it's like almost like this like sociological experiment we need to study deeper. Do you think like if the world situation was different when you had your son, do you feel like that played a part into your depression, I guess is what I'm asking, your postpartum, the fact that like the state of the world we were in, do you think that in the fact that we were like, you were locked down and do you feel like that played a part in it? Do you feel like could have been different if it wasn't that situation?
I mean, there's two parts to that. Like my depression started way before, but it started 3 days after I had my son. So before COVID happened, I was already deep in the depression and anxiety. And actually when COVID happened, I got a little happy because now I felt like everybody was trapped in the house with me and I wasn't trapped alone.
Yes, that makes sense.
Because before that, my husband was still going on motorcycle rides. He was still working. He was still going on set 12-hour days. And I had the hardest time letting go of what my life was. Like my freedom to like go do whatever you wanted. And watching my husband continue to be able, he had to, like somebody had to work. Right. I mean, it just gave me the most anxiety of like, oh my God, like I don't have power of choice anymore. And some women fall into that role very easily, but I couldn't. So to a certain extent, I did feel a moment of comfort when COVID happened.
Mm-hmm.
But then as time went on, I think that had I had the option to at least go to work and do something other than just be stuck at home,
Right.
I probably would have been pulled out of it much faster.
Yeah. So how long did you suffer with the postpartum depression?
A year.
Yeah.
A good year.
Yeah. And what did you find was like, was it kind of just, was it a consistent feeling of like, this is how I feel? Or did you kind of have, like in my functional nutrition world, we call them flare-ups, and you have flare-ups of symptoms. Did you have something that would trigger the feeling, or was it just kind of like, this is the constant state of where I am right now?
It was just a constant state.
Yeah.
Now, there were moments, like I wasn't constantly thinking of killing myself. So
Right.
those moments when things got really hard. And the thing is you can't manage your own emotions, right? Much less emotions of somebody else. But like, let's say I say something very harsh. You kind of have this like postpartum rage, they call it.
Mm-hmm.
And your husband takes it personally. And now he's mad at you. And now you feel very alone. And those were the moments where shit would get real bad. Like I would be like, hey, I know where the gun is. I would literally like play the scene out in my head and go, I don't know if I'm brave enough to actually pull the trigger, but I would literally play the scene out. But the anxiety too, Hope, was like, I would just be sitting there and then your heart just starts speeding and you're like, wait, what am I anxious about?
Right.
You can't like run away from it. There's nothing you can do to make it stop. So you're just forced to like keep going. And then you have this baby who wakes up early from his nap. He's hungry again. He's crying. You don't really know what's wrong with him. He's pooped 14 times and you have poop all over yourself. And you're like, okay, now I really don't want to do this. All life. It was constant.
Yeah. What was the catalyst to kind of pull you out of that state?
I think one of the big things that helped was when Nova, that's my son, when he started having like a more, I guess, predictable schedule. I'm super type A, right? So when he started sleeping, like one nap, okay, this is what time he wakes up. He would sleep through the night. I feel like that helped. But also when I started doing direct sales and had something to do, and I realized in that moment, because people tend to say like, you just have to change your mindset. But you can't when you're deep in the hole.
Right.
And I realized that that's when you have to just get the body moving, like one step after the other, like do something physical, like go on a walk, go do your workout, even though you hate life, and eventually your mind will catch up. And because I had those things to do now with the makeup and I was showing up for other people, it just helped me kind of just get myself out of that self-pity.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, you, like you said, you mentioned purpose, like you kind of lost your sense of purpose in that postpartum period.
Yes, because I knew that being a mom wasn't that's not my only purpose. Right. Some women are like, I didn't want to have kids ever in my whole life. I thought I was going to be single and like dancing till I'm 55 and maybe even older. And then I met my husband and he changed my whole like, oh, wait, I do want to get married. I do want to have kids. So it just wasn't a role that I was like, yay.
Yeah. I feel that. I kind of feel the same way. Like I say, when my husband and I got married, like I knew eventually I would have kids, but I say this and I've said it before, so don't feel bad saying it. Like, I don't really like kids. Like, I don't really like other people's kids. Like, I've never been one like, oh, let me hold the baby. Like, I've just, I babysat growing up and stuff, but it wasn't because I loved kids. It was because it was an easy way for me to make money when I was a teenager. And so I feel that too, or it wasn't something. Yeah, no, I feel that. Well, and I think, like you said, I think a lot of women do like, quote, like live for that, like to have kids. But I think the other part is they feel like they have to live for that. Like, I think some men feel like they don't have a choice. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, come on, this is I'm a woman. Like, we're here to procreate, right? Like, this is it. And that's kind of like, they feel like they have to feel that way.
Yeah, 100%. Even when I tell people I don't want any more kids, you see this look on their face. Like, I'm supposed to have more kids. And what do you mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's embedded in us from,
Yeah.
I mean, from a long
Yep.
time ago, kings
Yep.
and queens, and
Yep.
your house is full. Like, we don't need a full house
Right.
anymore. Like,
Yeah.
I don't need 14 heirs, you know?
Right. It's true. It's true. Like, one's enough for me. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you do like therapy or anything like that to help you through the depression?
No, I didn't. But I'll tell you, I'm a Scientologist, okay? And I did go in for what they call auditing, right? So try to figure out like what could have been restimulated in birth to cause me to go into this depression and anxiety.
Is it
And
kind of a subconscious like thing they kind of
not really subconscious, but we believe in past lives. So imagine your spirit is in this body.
Gotcha.
And I've experienced trauma
something
in a past
before
life similar. You might get re-stimulated in this lifetime, right?
Okay.
But it wasn't really helping. And so somebody from the church was like, have you ever thought about just taking a look at the body and seeing what's happening with your body, your hormones, everything? I was like, no, in Scientology, everything is like, you do it through the mind, right? It's what the mind is doing to the body. But there is data also that like sometimes there are things wrong with the body. And if you don't address it, no matter how much auditing you do, you will never heal the problem. And when they said that, I was like, oh my God, I feel so much better because now I don't feel like I'm failing at trying to like heal.
That's what I was about to say. You feel like you're,
failing. Like I would go to a session. This is what it's called session and come out feeling worse. And now that's not their fault or anything like that. It's just
because you couldn't get to the bottom of it.
I wasn't addressing the root cause, which really was my body. Like I am a certified functional nutritionist as well. And I am because of all this crap I went through. And once I started addressing the body, so I got my blood work done. I have Hashimoto's.
There
and
you
I was
go.
Like, oh,
okay.
So I started really feeling better when I learned that, okay, now I can just focus on healing my body and I'll feel better.
Yes, there's the physical piece. Well, I find that too, like even for people who like, I do energy work and, I do Reiki and incorporate that kind of stuff into my programs and stuff, my clients. But I find another FDN friend of mine was saying this in her group. She does the same. She does some energy group work with her clients. And she's had clients, like women come to her who are only focused on the energy work. And it's like, oh, well, I'm just going to think their way out of things kind of thing. Like, and I feel like it's kind of similar to what you're saying with your auditing sessions at your church. It's like, yes, there is like a mental, emotional piece to all of this, but there's also like, I think you can't separate. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in like the energy work and the mind work and all that, like, and that's great. And I'm a proponent of all of that, but it's all of it. Like you can't pull the physical piece out. Like it has to be all of it,
Correct. And it's the point of auditing is you find like the root event that caused you to feel like this. And when you can see it, right, it's like they call it, is it past life regression? Like there's another, okay. So it's, imagine it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, it seems the same.
When you see it and it's the truth,
right?
It kind of goes away. Like there's so many auditing sessions I've had where I've seen like, oh my gosh, I'm operating like this today because of what happened there. And you immediately are like, what am I doing? That's hilarious. And then you stop acting like that.
Right.
But it might take like session after session to like see it, find it. And I just didn't have it in me to like do that. And I knew that like, okay, well, now that I know my hormones are off, shit's going down. Obviously there's a reason why I feel like that. And I just need to fix that.
Right. The physical piece you have to address physical piece. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you see the anxiety? Because I haven't worked with women who are like in the thick of postpartum, but I've had women that I've worked with who, experienced postpartum, and I have a lot of women I work with that deal with really debilitating anxiety. But I feel like you kind of had like, this was kind of like a shift in your life. Like it kind of pointed you into a certain direction. It was kind of like a redirect and you ended up going this way. So I guess my question is, how do you see like this turmoil that you went through for a year, like dealing with the depression and the anxiety? Like, how do you see this as kind of helping you redefine your purpose or maybe find it altogether or just kind of like define wwho you are? Like, how did that kind of shape you as a woman, as a mom and everything, but as a woman? Like, you're not defined as you being a mom, but as a human.
I mean, it was the biggest gift I could have ever received. And of course, it did not feel like that in the moment.
Sure.
But like, I just get emotional thinking about like the woman that it forced me to create. I would not be here doing what I do and being the person that I am were it not for that. I mean, it almost destroyed me. And I think when you go through something that almost destroys you and it doesn't, and you look back and you're like, man, I got through that. It made me look at all adversity in my life as a gift. And like, I have this phoenix on my neck that represents Nova because like, so I don't know why I always get emotional about this topic, but like, I literally like died. Like the old Claude, I know it's dramatic, but like I literally died. And I think that's the hardest part for me is like, I kept reaching for that old Claude back, my body that I had, my freedom that I had, the life that I had with my husband and like the space. I had a really hard time letting go of her.
Yeah.
And once I was able to let go of her and be like, okay, who can I recreate now?
Right.
And she is like 100,000 times better than who Claude was before Nova.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that analogy with the phoenix. And I think, I don't know if you know much about human design, but like my incarnation cross in my human design chart is like the rising phoenix. So that's like a part of my chart. So I love that you have the phoenix. And that's like the kind of a theme, like one of the themes, your incarnation cross is kind of a theme like in your life. And so that's mine. And I have found, because I've kind of had like the past few years been going kind of this like spiritual awakening journey within myself. And I find that is, I think people don't realize when you go, like, and you talk about adversity, like you go through adversity or you go through maybe an enlightening experience or whatever, like there is kind of a grieving process to leave that old part of you behind. And I think that's why so many people have so much resistance to change and to like evolving as a human and that kind of thing, because you do have to let that piece go. And it is hard. Like, I mean, you literally had to go through a grieving process. Like, I'm going to leave that piece, that chapter of me back there, and I'm going to go start a new one. Like it's a process of like you're saying, like letting that piece die.
Yeah. And I also learned that like, because a big part of what I help my clients with is like their mindset. And I realized that a lot of creating who you are and like being proud of yourself is doing things you don't want to do, is keeping your word. And like in postpartum depression and anxiety, I had to every single day do just a shit ton of stuff I didn't want to do, but I chose to, whether I'm working out, crying, or, you know, going to a friend's house to hang out and I'm literally dying inside, but like knowing that that's what's good for me, like getting up and playing with my son and being there for him no matter what. You just build this thing of like, man, despite my feelings, it wasn't about how I felt. Like it was about Nova. And now I'm able to carry that piece of me into everything I do. And when I don't want to wake up and go to the gym, it's like, it's not about me. It's about what I'm showing Nova. It's about me showing up for my clients. It's about me creating the best version of me. And without being like forced to do that in that dark time, I wouldn't be here. I would still be like, oh, life's cool. And like, some days I want to work out. Some days I don't. Like I've always had the discipline of a dancer, but never to this level. Never.
Yeah. So what do you have as for women maybe who are maybe trying to define themselves? And I love everything that you're saying, because I find in my world too, and I know you work a lot with mindset, and I find that a lot of women, like we were saying, they define themselves as being, you know, a mom and a mother, and that's like the only identity that they have, or the only thing they like identify with. But like me and you were talking about, like you're more than just a mom, like you're more than just, but like you have, that doesn't define you. That's a role that you play, but it doesn't define you. So do you have any, I don't know, advice, or maybe it's mindset tips or something for women listening who maybe they feel like maybe they're not living their true purpose. Maybe they they feel like their true purpose is maybe overshadowed by like feeling like, oh, I'm a mom, so that's all I can be right now. Like, do you have any advice for people, women like that?
You have to be able to separate like what other people's thoughts are and what your thoughts are. And you have to live conscience congruent. Every single day, you're hearing things. There's little messages like, hey, you should start that business, or you should go take that class, or, tomorrow you should really call somebody for help and like go to the gym. Like, we get those downloads all the time because whether you believe in God or the universe, he or the universe is always trying to propel you to be and show up as your best self.
Right.
So you have to learn to live conscience congruent and not live based on what other people are thinking of you, what other people expect you to be. Like, and this is your parents. This is people who are close to you who are like, you're doing what? Oh, but you're so not maternal. And like, oh, you just that's so selfish. It is selfish of you, mom out there, for you not to take time for yourself, for you not to listen to your conscience and follow your heart and your gut.
Yep.
So that my biggest advice is to listen to that and follow it against all adversity, because that is the path to your true self. And if being a stay-at-home mom and doing that 24 hours a day is not your jam, but that's what other people are expecting of you, you have to learn to separate that and really follow what you want to do and not what they say you should do.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And I feel like the biggest, and I try to get that point across to the moms that I work with too. I feel like the biggest thing you can do for your kids is to show them how to prioritize yourself. Like, that's like the biggest lesson you could possibly give your kids. Like, I think about my mom, and I think about like her mom and just the relationship and I think it's a generational thing too. This kind of playing like, I'm sacrificing everything for you and that's what I'm going to do. And not saying it at a place of judgment, but just of like, then you play the martyr role your whole life, right? When you're doing that. And then you're resentful, and then you kind of build these really unhealthy codependent relationships. And I see this, and I see like how much of a I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but like what you could learn from watching moms who prioritize themselves versus like sacrificing their entire life to give you everything. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. But that's the thing is a lot of people don't trust themselves.
Yeah.
They don't trust, they're listening to everyone around them and scared to, disappoint the mom or do this or do that. It's like, you're not living this life for them.
Yeah.
They don't know. And I always say, unless you are in the place where I want to be, if you don't have the house I want, the body I want, the money that I want, the success, if you don't have that, I am not listening to you. You are not giving me advice, because why would I take advice from someone who doesn't have the life I want?
Right.
And my mom does not have the life I want. So, childhood trauma is a whole other conversation.
Yes.
But that generation really is completely in denial of ever having done anything.
Oh, yeah.
And
for sure.
Why would I listen to someone who I spent thousands and thousands of dollars trying to get rid of? Scientology, like, what do you think that is? That's getting rid of childhood trauma so I could think for myself. Along with like past life stuff, but mainly with like early childhood like thoughts and beliefs are yours. So my biggest thing is like, please don't take advice from people who do not live the life that you want to live. And also, if it just doesn't feel good for you, like, being a mom these days looks so different for everyone.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to just be 100%. Do what makes you happy.
Yeah.
And I also, speaking of functional nutrition and stuff, Hope, I really wish I would have known the gut-brain connection.
Oh, yes.
Then.
Yes.
Because if you have an anti-inflammatory diet, right, while you're pregnant, and don't give in to all the cravings and eat all the sugar and all of this, you can possibly avoid feeling those things. Now, also, if you are experiencing postpartum right now and you eliminate inflammatory foods and ditch the alcohol, probably experience huge relief.
Yeah, for sure.
And I didn't know that till a year and a half into my journey.
Yep. 100%. It's crazy too that I don't know, that we don't talk about that more. Like I was just having a call with one of my clients the other day and she was kind of struggling. Like I have her on an anti-inflammatory diet while we're working through some things and waiting on her labs and stuff. And she was saying like, oh, well, I did gluten-free for a few weeks and then I just couldn't do it anymore. And she's dealing with like really debilitating anxiety. And I'm trying to explain, like, it's so hard for me to explain. And we're coming from a place of like compassion. Like I understand that it's hard for people to make these kind of changes, but I just don't think we put enough emphasis on the gut brain connection that you're talking about. Like in how, I've had clients who literally they're off gluten for 2 weeks and their anxiety is like gone, like it's gone.
It's literally the cause of anxiety and depression is the food we eat.
Right.
Because it causes inflammation, which causes, imbalances all over the body.
Yeah. Right. And the gut brain connection is
my Hashimoto's through food.
Oh yeah.
That's it. No meds ever.
Mm-hmm. Good for you. That's awesome. That's amazing. And then a testament to the power of proper nutrition. And I feel like I had gestational diabetes with both of my kids. So I feel like that forced me, which I feel like I'm pretty dedicated to, the nutrition. So I feel like I probably would have, but I was forced to eat a certain way because I had diabetes and I had to check my blood sugar. But I feel like that forced me to like, I couldn't give in. Like I couldn't have sweets and I couldn't have, it was horrible, by the way. Anybody who's listening, like my heart goes out to you because telling a pregnant woman she has to be on a diet is like probably one of the worst things you can tell. It was terrible.
You know what? It will save your life. And like, totally. I don't placate people. I don't give a fuck if you don't like what I'm saying to you. I am saving your life.
Yeah.
And like, I don't negotiate with my clients. Like, well, I have this and I get it, but I'm so willing for my clients to be mad at me knowing this is how I'm saving your life right now.
Yeah.
That's
for sure.
I do not have negotiations like, please, that's it. This is the answer. Just, I don't care if you can't resist gluten. Like, it's either that or it's like your mental health.
Yeah. Essentially that's the choice, right? That's the choice. That's the alternative. Yeah.
See, I wouldn't be able to be this certain and I wouldn't be able to teach women anything had I not gone through that and then also healed myself from it.
Yeah, 100%. And that's huge to be able to come back from Hashimoto's. That's huge. So that's a huge testament to like nutritional therapy and like, just using it as medicine, like, right? Like nutrition as medicine. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah. Saved my life.
Yeah. So I have one more question that I want to ask you that I like to finish up with as we're wrapping up.
Sure.
But before I do that, can you let everybody know where they can find you and just kind of follow along with you, learn from you? You have a podcast that I know everybody would be interested in.
Yes. So my main platform is Instagram at Glow Up With Claude, Claude, spelled like Claude. And there is where I post like all the links to my other things. And I talk about my program and what I offer. I give a lot of free value as far as nutrition and hormones and ways to help those things. And then my podcast is called The Claude Code. And it is not for the faint of heart. I cuss a lot. I'm really watching my mouth on here for some reason. I don't know why. But if you want like a straight kick in the ass, then you're my people and go check it out. Apple, Spotify.
Yeah, do it, y'all. Go listen. Everybody needs a good ass kicking every now and then, I think. So, yeah. So that Claude's your girl. If you need one, Claude's your girl. Go check it out.
Yes.
Okay. The last question I want to ask you that I like to finish off with is what do you think is the most important thing you can do to live with purpose?
Wow. That's a good question, Hope. Listen, for me, you have to wake up and like yourself. Like you have to wake up and be proud of who you are. And that takes discipline. That takes sacrifice. That takes a lot of building and reframing old ideas and old thoughts and beliefs. And it really takes you trusting yourself, right? And how do you earn self-trust? By setting up a plan and sticking to it and keeping your word and keeping your promises and getting healthy, not just for you, but for your kids and your family. And the more you do that, our truest purpose is to be us, is to be you authentically. And to me, all self-development starts with proper nutrition and exercise. So at the very least, just show up and get that shit straight every day. And then you kind of peel back the layers and you start loving and trusting yourself and feeling really confident and badass. And then your purpose just flourishes from that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. Great advice, Claude. Thank you so much for sharing your story and just being so open and honest with us and giving us life lessons. I know that everything that you're talking about is, I mean, all of us need to learn all of this to find ourselves and to find our purpose and to live as authentically us as women and not trying to fit into roles that we, think we should be playing. So I love everything you're about. So I appreciate your sharing everything with us.
Thank you so much for having me on. Thank you guys for listening.
Thanks for listening to Hopeful and Wholesome, y'all. If you found value in this week's episode, please subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts and leave a review to let me know what you thought. I love to know what you find useful in these episodes so I know how I can provide the most value I can to my listeners. And if you have topics that you want to know more about, I'd love to hear those as well. So shoot me a message on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. It's at the Hope Pedraza, or visit my website, hopefulandwholesome.com. Thanks, y'all.